Welcome to Life's a Coach. Our mission is to empower individuals like you to take charge of your life, discover your purpose, and elevate your performance to new heights. Each week, we'll be diving into engaging discussions, introducing you to valuable tools from the coaching world, and giving you different perspectives on individual development. Whether you're seeking clarity, motivation, or a fresh perspective, we've got you covered. Again, welcome to Life's a Coach, where the power to transform your life begins now.
All right, welcome back to Life's a Coach. And today we got Jean Kim, Eric Clement, and Sophia.
Ribeiro.
There
It's
we
a very
go.
Portuguese name, Ribeiro.
Ribeiro. So we're gonna have a demo session of a coaching session. Jean is gonna be the coachee today, and Sophia is gonna be the coach. And after their coaching session, we're gonna have a little discussion about the coaching, right? So Eric and I are gonna mute ourselves, and we'll leave the time to you guys. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, Jean.
Hello.
Welcome. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a journey.
What do you want to talk to me about today about that journey?
Well, I recently got into a car accident, and it's been my third one. So just going through a really difficult time with post-concussive symptoms. It feels very similar to something that would be a big impact on someone's life, like whether it's the death of a loved one or a divorce or a big move or any kind of unexpected event, because it's been putting so much into question. First, it's just my daily life, like the ways that I do my schedule, my habits, my work, my relationships, my socializing. It's all come into question because of my limitations, health-wise. And it's almost 6 weeks post, and I'm having a very difficult time trying to figure out how to settle, where to land, as I keep trying to move forward.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Jean. And first of all, as I know you, I know that you are taking care of yourself and your body during this period.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested to hear a little bit more on what you just said, because you started very generally. So I'm just going to tell you what I saw when you were talking to me. You started very to the others and what's happening around yourself, and then you went to you and how this is impacting you in your day-to-day in your life. Can you go a little bit more in detail on that?
Yes, definitely. Like when the accident happened, I felt I felt less shock and more anger because it was my third one. And I'm not used to anger. Like I don't know what to do with anger. So with that, I felt that what's the point? I can't control what happens. I don't know how to be this person who is angry and irritable. And I thought it would pass. But now, maybe it's been a little bit more than 6 weeks. Now I have to come to a point where I accept this is sort of my new normal, right? Normal, like, never mind like my everyday. Like, let's say, usually I wake up in the mornings. I'm so good with getting right up, starting my day. I hit my, my work, and then I do my workouts. I prepare food for the day. Like I have a very active and tight schedule. And now I have to wake up, in the dark, I have to fumble around, make sure that I don't expose my brain to the light too quickly, or else I'll suffer headaches for the rest of the day. So even on the get-go, it's like I don't recognize myself. So therefore, when my morning starts off so different, then how do I build the afternoon and then the evening from a foundation that is no longer there?
What are you telling to yourself when you wake up?
Yeah, thank you for the question. For 6 weeks, I was saying, I don't want to get up. I don't want to face this today. And the last 2 days, I've been saying, I choose gratitude that I'm alive today. And now I'm going to seek help, which is why I came to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for showing up, Jean. And I just felt the release when you said for the last 2 days, and then you just like you're coming back. You're coming back to yourself. How has it been for you now that you're realizing that you've been away from yourself for the last 6 weeks, you said? How is it that being to you at this moment?
Definitely very scary because, it's like if I don't recognize myself, my habits, my emotions, my thought patterns, then I'm also not trusting myself, right? It's like I'm a new person to myself. So I have to get to know myself, my reactions. So I think that rather than, okay, so I'll give you a little example. My daughter just moved out of her apartment because her university was finished. I'm the mom who would, organize her moving truck, like call her and say, okay, honey, I'm coming down. I'll help you pack. We'll move. I'll help you clean. I was feeling so limited, and she had to call me and ask, hey, mom, are you able to come down and drive me back home? I can do everything else because I know you've had this accident. You don't have your car. And so I went down there. It was like a big effort to even drive. She lives 2.5 hours away, to drive there. And when I showed up, rather than me normally like, oh, I'm so proud of you. You did this on your own. Yay. It's a new chapter in your life. You're going to go tree planting. And I was super irritable. Like, oh, you're not even ready for like the truck to come in an hour. Like, so I surprised myself. Like, that's what I meant about I didn't recognize who I was. And therefore, like I said, I lack trust in how my reaction will be and who's going to show up. So I think that now, I hear extend compassion to yourself. Make sure that you are the best friend to yourself that you would be to someone else. So now it's like instead of setting this bar or expectation like, Jean, you're supposed to be doing this, or you're supposed to be showing up like this as the good mom. But it's like you got in the car. You're still acknowledging that you want to be involved in your daughter's life, right? And when I got there and she said, oh, you're so late, mom, or, she said something that triggered, and I think that's why I said, well, you're not even ready. So rather than judge that, I took a step and I just said, I breathed, and I just said to her, I just want to be acknowledged that I made the effort to come here because it was a big step for me. So even for me to be giving myself kudos was a huge new normal. So that's an example of where I'm trying to transition even within my own attitude towards myself. Never mind what's what it looks like, a new normal in everyday schedule and habits.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you for sharing. And it, I've known you for quite a long time now, so I can imagine the struggle that you are having. You always want to be everything to your kids. It's something that I've seen since day one, since we've started speaking. So I can imagine there's a lot of inside struggle yourself when you see that your body and what happened to you is blocking and keeping you to do everything else that you would like to do for your kids at this moment. But taking care of yourself and listening to your body, paying attention to all those things that you're mentioning today to me is the best way that you can be the best mom ever at this moment for your child. So acknowledge that for you also.
Thank you, Sophia. You don't know what it means the world to me. Thank you for
No.
seeing me and for supporting my offering to myself.
Thank you for being here also. And Jean, I would like to ask you but who is supporting you through this journey? And in a way, this is a two-way question. Like, how are you opening up to be supported during this journey?
Well, I do live with another daughter who is obviously with me on a day-to-day, and she asked me directly, what can I do to support this transition? She's so insightful. And so I was very direct, and I said, try as much to take care of your own affairs, including packing your own lunch and things that I normally do for us. And also, please extend grace for the house not being as orderly as we both like it. Because sometimes I'll not choose to expend energy on cleaning, but rather resting. So that's a huge help, to be living with somebody that you can communicate very directly and ask for what it is that I need. And then secondly is this. It's this forum. It's going towards people who I know would show reason and compassion, and not maybe people like maybe I don't know, like my mother would be like overly worried, like if I told her any of this, right? Oh my God, this is disastrous, and this, like, oh my poor baby, like that doesn't help either. And nor would it be good for me to, be with people who might say, I don't understand, or I don't know you like this, and it also scares them. So that's too much for me to handle at this point. So these are my supports that I've chosen.
And when you open up your eyes in the morning, what is the first thing that comes to your mind now?
It's that I have a choice. It's really what I'm telling myself. I have the choice to innervate the side of poor me. This is so shitty. What happened? Why me? Or I go the other side. It's I choose to be not even excited for the day, but I choose to greet the day. I choose to do what I want to help myself be a better version than I was yesterday or even last hour. So I think it's more that, I have to look at sort of a smaller view of myself and what's needed, rather than see like beyond the horizon, which I normally am. I'm like a big vision person and the big picture person, broad stroke. And that's anyways, there's so many little aspects of shifting and being more intentioned towards, like, let's just see what I'm going to do for the next hour, and not at the end of the day to look back and say, oh my God, all this happened. So Yeah, it's choices.
Definitely. What would you tell me if I was in the space that you are today?
I love you unconditionally. Welcome. I receive you and I know you. And just bask in that. Just bathe in the knowledge that even if you can't predict things and what every day may bring, you have your own back. You have it. You got it. Because all of the love that was poured into you, all of the skills you acquired, and just even your basic humanity of survival, right? We're born to survive and to adapt. These are huge. These are like huge resources. So let's not forget that you're wired to prevail. And I want the highest quality of life. I think we all want that. And I think it's like relearn what that might mean and how you would get it. And that's in itself a beautiful process, to allow that to unravel, for you to go back to kindergarten in your mind and soul, your heart, and your body, and just put yourself in a position of learner and observer, rather than be the one who evaluates and makes sure that you dot your I's and crosses your T's, because that's exhausting as well, to be in this position of always having to motivate and edit and yeah. I think I just have to remember that there are multiple roles that I can play for myself, and to use really kind words, encouraging words.
Great that you finished like that, Jean, because the word that was coming to me while hearing you was the kindness. Be kind to yourself. And you were saying to me in the beginning that you're facing a different journey, but this is all part of a great big journey that started like many, many years ago. And you should not only acknowledge, but celebrate yourself, because everyone can go through this journey. Everyone can choose to be in this journey, but not everyone is as brave as you are to be in this journey since the beginning of it. And through all the challenges that you've faced, even the 3 accidents that you had, be in this place, in this situation that you are today. So kindness to yourself for sure, but also congratulate yourself, look in the mirror and just say, I love you. In the first time that you look in the mirror to your day, and everything will unfold for sure. But first, let me thank you so much for sharing this with me and for being the place that you are today. And you know that we have your back all the time and you can count on us for support.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sophia.
That was beautiful. Firstly, Jean, thank you as well for being vulnerable and for bringing what you're going through and where you're at into this space. And Sophia, thanks for being a brilliant coach. Yeah, that was beautiful.
It was. No, that was incredible. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so from that, the topic that you brought. So if I were to ask you, Jean, how would you summarize or sum up what you brought to the table yourself, if you were to put your coach hat on for a minute?
I think for our listeners and maybe even for ourselves, life throws curveballs, right? I don't like to say lemons because I mean I love lemons and they shouldn't be put in a negative way. So life throws curveballs, and some curveballs don't hurt so much. You know, they don't curve as much, and that you can get back on the road. But for things that are more impacting on like a really gut level, and like I said, I use some of them, right? I use like a death of a loved one, you know, a separation or a divorce. You know, maybe somebody just like they move right out of their culture. Like these are big things that could really change the course of someone's life. And I'd like to bring on the table, you know, as coaches, and maybe just as human beings too, you know, what is the process of adjustment? You know, how do we allow ourselves the time to, yes, heal? Of course, we know, and we always say heal, feel your feelings. But how do we set ourselves up for the transition to, and I'll say a new normal, of normalizing who I am, you know, my habits, what my daily life looks like. How do we help somebody to transition?
How do we help someone to transition when they're getting into a new normal, a new space? Any thoughts, guys? You're muted, Eric, by the way.
Yep. No, just deep in thought here. And I guess I'll turn it around to Eugene, because obviously that was very authentic and perhaps something that you're literally going through now, right? But how did you feel about how Sophia framed your problem, right, with regards to, you know, where she came at it from the aspect of you wanting to create a new normal, right? How did you feel within that process?
So for me, there's like multiple levels, right? Because let's say my normal is usually I just deal with things myself, right? I'm very independent. I've been a single parent, you know, for 11 years. I've been single for 11 years. So, you know, I'm just used to doing the daily and also most of my own, you know, admonition of myself or, you know, any like motivating myself. I'm so used to doing it that way. So already to ask for help or to speak out loud on it, that's already creating, you know, a new normal in the way that I process the transition, right? So that's on one level. And then a second level for new normal is to actually be able to sit back and say, what in my day takes up the most energy? And what of those things are very important to me? Like, what do I want to keep in my life, on an everyday life? So that takes a whole process too, because it's really rare. You know, most of us are on autopilot, right? We live our life. Especially if you have a 9 to 5 job, like you know what time to get to work, you know how to get to work, you have to do those things in the morning to get yourself ready to go to work. Like, so autopilot, it's stable, but when that's taken away, so now I have to step back and evaluate and process what things are important. That takes a huge amount of energy. So even never mind all the everyday things that I have to keep up, but you know, with a limited functionality of a brain and energy, to even take time to evaluate takes energy. So that's a second level that goes, I think, a little bit deeper, you know. And then the last level, never mind the everyday, but it's like, what is life? Like I'm going on like existential kind of questions, like, why does this life bring so much suffering? Like, if I'm a good person, I'm going along my life, I'm doing, you know, very well, I'm giving, I'm loving. Why can't they just leave me alone. Like they, as in like, bad luck and spirits. Like, so then it's like, oh my gosh, what's required of me? Like, is it my soul that's now calling into wanting elevation? Like, there's more, that I'm put on this earth to do. So all of this takes processing. And I won't necessarily say time. I mean, we need time to think, but sometimes when something hits in your life, like a curveball, it's an instant, without a doubt. Like, it's like people who have like, right before they have a near death experience, they know exactly what it is that they love or that they should have done, or right? You get these kind of clarity, like this moment. And I got that. But then it's like, okay, but how do I even get it in motion? How do I transform my life to represent what is really important to me, that I have this clarity about? Because that's hard. It's the change that they say like a decision comes in 10 seconds, but sometimes it takes 10 years to like implement it. That's the piece I'm looking for. How do we make the 10 years turn into 10 weeks, maybe 10 months? That's what I'm looking for here in our discussion.
If I may speak, what you're talking about, if I bring it back to some of the original stuff you said about how do you help someone get into a new version of them that's showing up or what's coming up. As you were speaking and sharing your experience, I got reminded of a quote by a guy called Mark Nepo. He says, "What opens you is not as important as what it opens." Right? So what opens you is not as important as what it opens. So what opens you may be a divorce. It may be a car accident. It may be losing your job. It may be something sudden that happens that you're not expecting. But what it does, Jean, it takes you from that autopilot world, right? It shakes you up, wakes you up from that autopilot world. And you're like, holy fuck, what's going on here, right? At times, a lot of people, we then focus on what opens us. I then get obsessed with losing my job. I then get obsessed with the divorce. I get obsessed with the person who died or how they died and stuff. But what I'm missing is what's trying to come up, what's showing up, what's coming up for me, right? And as a spiritual and holistic life coach, I get to look at life from those perspectives and get to trying to shed light, like, okay, let's help you focus on what's coming up for you, right? So for me, one of the things that I heard as you were talking to, as Sophia was coaching you, was the element that when you found yourself, the usual Jean would have all these things on top. She'd be on top of it. She'll come pick up stuff and get to her daughter with a smile on her face and all this kind of stuff. But a version of you that kind of showed up was like irritable and all that kind of stuff, right? In my world, we call that's either your shadow self, right? Mm-hmm. Why? Because Jean grew up and was conditioned to be proper. A good parent is like this. You have to talk like this. You have to be on top of this. This is all this, right? You're grouchy or grumpy or that side of you that's like, it's told it's negative, it's wrong, it's bad, let's put it to the corner. You're not supposed to show up like that. And there's spaces, whether it's work, business, whatever, there's certain spaces where, of course, we are told it's not the thing to be. But coming back to our authentic selves, right? What you guys ended up going to, like where you and Sophia ended up going to about self-love and self-care, right? And taking care of yourself. Actually, is also about when I heard you say, when you're saying your last words, when Sophia asked, what would you say to yourself or to someone who's going through something? I heard a lot of positive affirmation towards self-loving the parts of you that feel abandoned, that feel rejected. So even that part of like that version of you that's like, I can't be bothered, I'm tired, I'm bothered. The irritable side of you is the part that I felt like those words needed to go to.
Yeah.
When you said you're welcome, right? You actually say the word you're welcome. If you remember, it's saying, I welcome that part of me that feels irritable. I welcome that part of me that is impatient with my daughter. I welcome that part of me that, doesn't feel like getting up in bed. And that's even pissed off at the fact that I'm going through my third accident. That side of you that's having all these feelings, that's the part I feel like you're speaking to and say, I welcome that. And I love you. So to me, when I listen from everything just holistically, what you said, I'm like, if we're not focusing on what opened you was the third accident, right? What's there that's been opened is this shadow side to you that wants you to come out and be authentic, because it is the balance. We are both the proper person, we're both the not proper person. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like that's the side of you that's showing up. That's like, hey, Jean, I now need you to love on me too. This is the human side of you. You get what I'm saying? Because I've worked with you for a while. I've seen you in business. It's easy to put on the hat of I'm the CEO, I'm this, I'm the mom. I've got all these different hats that I put on. But at times there's also an inner child that's in there, inner Jean that needs love. There's also even your shadow self, because growing up in the culture you grew up in, right? There are so many things that are do's and don'ts, right? And there's certain places where you've had to abandon yourself because you had to be alignment with expectations of people. That's your shadow self that's needing to come out. Like, actually, this is also Jean, and she wants to come out and shine and be heard and be felt and be understood, And I feel like from what I got, that's what's being called in right now. Like, okay, this third accident, even the fact that you're angry and mad and upset that, oh my God, it's a third one, that part, right, needs to be acknowledged and loved. I'm like, okay, so that's how I see it, at least from, like I said, being a spiritual holistic coach. That's how I see it. And if I was to work with someone who's going through that situation, that would be where how I would help them, like saying, hey, okay, let's focus what's showing up, because if we don't give attention to this, you end up being in that situation when they call it same script, different cast, right? So if it's a relationship, you come out of this relationship, you're going to be in another one, and the stuff is going to come up until it's dealt with, or if you don't pay attention to this, for all you know, I'm not saying, but another accident will come because it wasn't given time, so that's how I would approach it.
Interesting what you said, Avril. And I was wanting to hear Eric, because you just said, Avril, how would you deal with this situation? So I dealt in one way, being a coach. Jean is the same. You just said, and Eric, how would you approach the situation, considering if Jean come to you and we are the three of us are very different coaches. So I think it's also important to our listeners to understand that we know that not every coach is going to be like exactly perfect for every person, but all of us have different ways of tackling a specific situation. So Eric, on you now.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I was basically going to ask the same question as to like the overarching. I'll go first, but definitely I wanted to know your I don't want to call it strategy or tactic, but how were you coaching? And kind of obviously, because that was a real snapshot of probably a longer conversation, a much deeper conversation. Because I had definitely some notes on some highlights, right, for the listeners to really learn and understand. Like, you did this and this was why, kind of thing. Generally, again, I'm a life and performance coach. So I coach a lot around how, let's say, transitions and things that happen within life, how they affect us and our day to day, if that makes sense, right? So I like, Sophia, how you went deeper. I'm first and foremost very big on building awareness. So again, for example, what I wrote down was you noticed that Jean, you directed the first question at her when, and then she started talking about everybody else. And then she kind of came back to herself. If you know Jean, that's just the type of person she is. She's a servant, and she, you know what I mean? She's worried about everyone else before herself. But you went very quickly into building awareness of, okay, this is how you're talking. Now, can you tell me how you're thinking and feeling? And then you could see Jean really, and I call this kind of taking the client out of their mind and into their body, because you spoke much more about her feelings and her felt emotions rather than what she was thinking about the situation. Because I think a lot of the time we make up our own stories, and we know how the brain works, right? It puts things into boxes. It should be like this and this should be like this, when the body is much more complex and complicated than that. So I loved that. And then through active listening, you kind of were able to tap into the root issue, right? The root deep down. It was more than just this overall, the difficulty of the transition. You went much deeper into kind of, how she felt about the situation, and how, this was a transition, because she was used to being the one that takes care of everyone, but now she felt less powerful because, you know what I mean? She was not able to do that as much. So I love that. And then a coach also guides a client to go deeper. So I think you just created a very safe space. Obviously, you have a relationship with Jean, but you could tell that very early and soon, I call it seeing somebody, when you feel seen and you feel heard. I thought that Jean felt that very early on, that she could just talk openly, right? Without the fear of being judged, and without worrying about what Sophia, was, how she was being, being seen and things like that. And then you empowered her. You empowered her to be vulnerable by not giving her the answers, right? Because at certain times it could have been very easy to tell her, oh yes, and you know what I mean? This probably means this, or this means that. You just kept following up. And I loved the question, because you've asked me before and it was incredible. What would you tell me if I were in the same situation as you are today? Like, as human beings, again, this is a self-awareness question. We're much less likely to be able to find the answers if we try to see it from our own point of view. I call it like the best friend scenario, or the best friend question, right? You're much more you're much more willing and able to say what needs to be said when there's no, you know what I mean? Like you would just be coming from a place of service, and Jean comes from a place of service. So if you were coming from this place of service, how would you now tell me? And then you could see Jean immediately just be like, because that's her. Do you know what I mean? Like without all the baggage involved, like weighing her down as to, this is everything that I've been through. Deep down, we know, right? And that's the last one, is a client or a coach really shows a client that they have the answers within themselves. So it comes from a place of empowerment and a place of, you are amazing, you are powerful, and you can be the driver in your life, So those are my notes. And I loved, and that's just from like 10 minutes, right? So just imagine, guys, like, how much deeper we could have gone, and how much more meaningful that could have been. So no, incredible work, Sophia and Jean.
But there's a highlight I would like with what you're saying, Eric, just to clarify to our listeners also. Don't expect that your coach, if you're meeting them for the first time, this is going to be the 15 minutes, like immediately like this. There's a relationship to build. There's a base of trust. You said it well, Eric. Me and Jean know ourselves. So it's easy to go directly to these powerful 15 minutes that most of us will have like in the 30 minutes and probably in the third or fourth sessions or more, depending on the vulnerability part of the coachee and on the willingness to share. So don't expect miracles. I think it's a very important aspect to highlight here.
Definitely. Fantastic.
Awesome. Wow. That's been a beautiful episode. I think we need to do more of these coaching sessions within our podcast. We still have 20 more minutes to jump into you, Sophia. Are you up for it?
Well, yeah, I can go. I will not be here next week. So if you want to do the thing that I talked about today, I'm okay with it.
All right.
What do you think?
No, I want us to just, let's just get onto it and just, who's going to volunteer to coach Sophia?
Avril, see you.
Oh, me? Okay.
I've invited you forward.
All right. Okay, cool.
I'm enjoying taking this.
Yeah, you're a lot of an observer today, Eric. You're choosing a different seat today.
Yes, I am.
All right. So can you keep a timer for us? 15 minutes max?
I've got it.
All right. Awesome. So we're just going to do this like what you did with Jane, as if it's actually a coaching session. So I'm going to go ahead and come from that space, right?
Yeah.
All right, for sure. Do you mind if we start with like 3 deep breaths? Yeah, just to ground. All right, so let's
all the 4 of us together.
All right, so in 3, 2, 1, in and out. And the last one, deep breath in and release. Well, firstly, Sophia, thank you for being with us today and for being willing to share what you're going through, what you're bringing in for coaching. And before we begin, I want you to know that this is a safe space that you're in right now. There's unconditional positive regard. There's no non-judgment in this space too. And feel free to share what you're comfortable. If there's anything you don't feel comfortable, feel free to just say, yes, I'm not comfortable, responding to that question. And also know that anything that you share here is also held in the highest of confidentiality. Yeah. And for sure. And with that, I just want to invite you to just tell us what you bring into the space today.
So, I was involved in a small accident last week, and it was quite a hard week because it stopped me from doing the things that normally I do to keep my well-being, even my self-love, like going to the gym or compromising myself with my working hours, for example, or even be with people that I really enjoy spending time with. And in a way, also, the situation itself, it made me think how fast life can go by. Like in seconds, you are in one place and you definitely change to a different place. And I put a lot of thought on what happened. It was a little bit of both sides' fault in the situation, and was because I was in a rush trying to get someplace at the hour. A lot of things happening that I felt that the universe was trying to tell me something about that situation. And I'm a lot into this. I like to understand the energy of the universe and understand what the universe is telling me, considering how I'm living my life and the options that I'm taking. So it was a week of a lot of challenges, but a lot of facing also the reality that I'm living. And during the weekend, I think I get to ground myself.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things came to my mind during the weekend. And then this Monday, so we are Friday today, so I just took a completely different mindset to my day today.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I can not do all the things that I really enjoy doing at this moment, I try to embrace with grace what I'm experiencing now,
Mm-hmm.
and also trying to understand that my structure, my daily routines, the way that I see that I take care of myself, it doesn't say anything about me or the way that I'm taking myself through life.
Mm-hmm. Can you say that last bit again? You said the way you what? Sorry.
I'm taking myself through life. So I give a lot of importance
Mm-hmm.
to my daily routines.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a religion, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like doing this. It's very important to me. So my workouts during the morning, the time I get to meditate, or the time I get to journaling, or at night, the time I get to go to bed, and having a really good night. That it was impossible last week because I had pain from Monday to Friday during the night, so I couldn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things were making me feel like, not, I wouldn't say giving up, but it was like I was mad with
Mm-hmm.
what was happening because of one thing that I could have done it in a different way. But instead of, during the weekend, what I thought, instead of going to that path, let's go to the other path. What do you need to learn with this situation?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Where do you need to be grounded at this moment? So did I make it a little bit more clear?
Yes,
Maybe?
yes. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you had a situation that happened to you, an accident that got you, after you went through your process, you get to a place of you were reflecting to see what the universe is trying to tell you through the situation you were in. And the incident that happened has changed your view of how you do your day-to-day life. I know I kind of summed it
Yes.
up, but that's what you're saying, right? Okay.
Definitely. Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. And so, a question for you. So, what do you think the universe is saying to you? I know you've had time to reflect, but what do you think the universe is saying to you?
So my thoughts are around, like, why do we need to rush into life? And why are we rushing? In my specific case, why am I rushing through things? And so I'm a lot into mindfulness, and if I practice what I preach, right, I like to be fully in the moment. And through, like, for some weeks now, I'm rushing into a lot of things and probably just wanting to be in places, but not wanting to be present in places, if this makes any sense. And it was a way to, okay, stop, just go back and just be present. And making this conscious decisions around where am I being and where am I spending my time, with whom am I spending my time with, and what is involving myself in this.
Wow, that's interesting. It's it's one thing that you're very, from what I'm getting, you're very perspective. That's a word, person, and the way you reflect. I just want to honor you. That's really amazing reflection. Yeah. It's not everybody who goes through what you went through and come out of it seeing it from that light. Some people can easily take what you've gone through and take it and start having a victim's mentality about it.
Yeah.
However, just to go back a little bit deeper on the question that I asked, like when I said, what is it that you think the universe is sharing with you? right? Because that's how you kind of, when you're sharing that, you want to know what the universe is saying. And you say the question you're asking yourself is, why is it that you want to rush into things, right? So if you were to first to ask you that question, where did you get with that question? Like, why do you feel you needed to rush? Or as someone who wants to practice being present, right, and who practices being the art of being present, what do you think it is that was making you want to rush into the few things that you were starting to get rushing into?
Yeah, good question, Avril. So I think that for the last months, a lot of changes have been happening. So I changed my role in the company where I am. So even if I've been in this company for a long time, starting a new role always makes you feel like you're a newbie. And I really, and this is for new roles, new relationships, new friendships, new situations. I tend to dislike the uncomfortable part of it. I like stability. So when I'm in this changing situation, I always want to rush and get to the comfortable spots. But an interesting fact about me is that I never stay comfortable too long, because I found new ways of facing challenges and try to be in that spot again and then racing again into the comfortable part. So interesting human being, I would say. So, but I would say that I'm rushing to find comfortable and comfort and stable situations in my life, instead of accepting that the challenges that I'm in today were chosen by me.
Oh, they were chosen by you. Do you want to elaborate by that? What you mean by that?
If I go very into the mind, I would say, like, for example, changing the role it was something that I choose. Being in certain relationships is things that I choose, even if they are unstable or even if they don't bring good things to me. It's things that I choose. So when I say this is, what am I choosing for myself? And this is the question that I'm putting in myself every day. Like, what are you choosing to do today for yourself? And where is this choice that you are making aligned with the comfortable and stability that you are looking for? I don't know if I've gone deep.
No,
like
you
wanted,
have.
Avril.
Yes, no, for sure. No, it's. I'm hearing you clearly. It's interesting. So it's interesting because I'm hearing you describe a lot as if you've done a lot of reflecting and you already kind of know where you're at and how you're seeing life, right? So I guess I'm going to go back to a question I really should have asked beginning of the coaching session. Like, what do you hope to achieve in this coaching session with us? Like, what is it you want to achieve or get to?
How do you keep it? How to keep it, you know?
How to keep what?
I don't know if it's the correct way to question this, but how to keep this. You said before that it's not easy to be through what I've been through and live with the positive mindset of it, or with the positive results of it. It's like how to keep it, like how to being through these kind of situations and challenges, getting a positive side of it, but keeping this in the long way.
Gotcha. So more or less, if I'm hearing correctly, is you went through this incident, you came up on the other side, and after reflecting, you realized you want to maintain a life of being present and of being conscious on day-to-day basis, and also being positive about the situations that are happening in your life, right? And your question is, how do I maintain that?
Yeah.
Gotcha. You know, the thing that's incredible or interesting is that from a spectator's point of view, someone who's just listening, is that it feels to me like you're already doing it already, because you're someone who's waking up daily consciously saying, what are the choices I want to do today? right? So each day you wake up, you're making conscious decisions of what you want to choose each day. All right. So my question to you is, wouldn't it be the same thing of like each morning, just, or each situation as it comes? Like you say, if you're being present in the morning, a moment, each question as it comes, or situation as it comes, just asking yourself how you're choosing to relate to it, whether you're going to relate to it from a positive or negative. Wouldn't it be?
Yes, I think so. At least at this moment, I feel so.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that something brought me to the situation that I was in. I just let my life go in a way that it led me. And with all I know, with all the work that I've done, with all the things that I preach, and with all the things that I try to help other people with, I got there. I got to the rush. I got to the non-mindful state. I got to the non-being conscious of my decisions.
Gotcha.
So in a way, it's like, how do we get to not slip into the thing like, oh my God, I'm in that place again.
Yeah. All right. So I hear you, and I gotta wrap up because Eric just told me we're almost out of time. I would like to just pose it back to you one more time. Is that the thing you can take with you to reflect? Is that from the get-go, you also say that you're someone who believes in the universe, right? And that when situations are unfolding, you're asking yourself, what is the universe trying to say to me or speak to me in this place, right?
Yeah.
So my question to you, or what I'm posing to you, is that there could be a space here of you getting to just trust the universe, that there's certain things you can't control, but as they happen, there's something for you that's unfolding, that's there, because you can do your routines day after day and be spot on, but just because you're doing all these things right doesn't mean that you're not going to have a situation like you had. Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just a part of just trusting the universe to, like, okay, what is there for me to learn? Because if that's just a question I would pose for you. Go on. You seem like you got something you want to say.
It's just that in one way, what I feel is about the safety part of it, and it's and I'm going back to the part of being comfortable and stability. That's something that I need to acknowledge, that my life, probably considering also the ambitious part that I have in so many different aspects of my life, I will not be the person that is, I wouldn't say comfortable, but I need to be comfortable in the challenges. I need to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, if I must say this. And that's the work, I think, that's still processing, and the work always in progress of being comfortable with the uncomfortable and with the changes in life. Like, it doesn't say nothing about myself or about the person that I am to others. If things change, if I change, if situations change.
That's awesome. I'm glad you went back to that. Yes, because
I'm glad too. But it was what you did that made me go back to that.
Yes, because I at one point I was going to ask you about that, the space of being uncomfortable, and I was going to see if we could explore the place of you not feeling uncomfortable. That's why you want to rush to the space of being comfortable. But I'm glad that you got there yourself. So that's something you can take home with you, and something you can more reflect,
Definitely.
process on.
Thank you, Avril.
You are most welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. So
love that. So that's a lot to go into, because I'm interested, Avril, because you've really opened it up, like, very, very artfully, I will say, and I'll definitely touch on a couple of those in a second. But where would you go from now, right? Because it seems as if you've reached the point right now in the coaching session where you would probably go much deeper into now what you're talking about. Just give us a bit of a summary of what would the next steps for you be when talking with Sophia.
All right. So in our training, one of the things that we got is that what was it they say? They say you dance with the client, go with where the client, stay with the client, and not what they're saying. Or I'm probably douching how they phrase it, because there is a space for powerful questions as a coach, and there is a place where, like what she mentioned earlier on about, she wants to rush to the next thing because she's not comfortable. She doesn't like the space of being uncomfortable. So she rushes on to the next thing, that's the next cycle, to get her to a place of comfortability, right? I caught that on early on, and I felt like I could have asked that and stuck with that. But I also was trying to follow where she was going to. That's why I ended up going, okay, it seems like she's a very reflective person. So she's done a lot of the stuff that, if someone who's not a coach and have the experience and background she has, I would be starting from somewhere there at the bottom, right? But it seems like Sophia came in already with a lot of reflections done. So I was like, okay, let me continue following her, because I want to see what is it exactly she wants to get out of our session today. So it was a matter of one thing that I recognized that I didn't quite get right today, if I may put it, is to clarify and get clarity what it is she wanted to get from the way to go, because that could have also saved us time. That, okay, the journey or the path we were taking might have been different, right? So that's something I've just observed in the approach that I did. However, the next step for me would be like, okay, now that we're back to one thing that's really affecting everything, is the place of being comfortable, right? I'll then ask her questions in relation to her feeling like, okay, what is it about being uncomfortable that you want to quickly rush over, right? How do you feel about staying in that place of being uncomfortable? What comes up for you when you're in the space of being uncomfortable, right? You are rushing because you don't want to sit in the place of being uncomfortable, right? I'll then guide her, help her, assist her in seeing how she can just sit. Like earlier on, we were talking about sitting with our thoughts or sitting with our feelings and watching our feelings come through and just sitting with them. I would have kind of also gone that route of finding out if there's a way she can learn how to just sit with that uncomfortability and see what's coming up for her, right? Because in getting what that is the thing that can then make you be more self-empowered once you know what it is that's making you uncomfortable at that spaces. And typically as human beings with psyches, and we've had all sorts of minor to major traumas in our lifetimes, stuff like that, it comes out of either conditioning or triggers or trauma, right? So that's, to a certain extent, what shapes up our personalities at times, So if I was to just sit there with that being uncomfortable, what's coming up for me? I may be surprised at something that has to do with my childhood or my past relationship or my parents, but there's something that gets me like, okay, I need to go to the next thing, I'm also here not trying to transfer or project, but I'm also speaking for myself too. Like, this is what I experience with what I'll do with myself, as per se, if I was going through that feeling uncomfortable scenario.
It's great.
I say it a
I
lot.
love that reflection, Avril. No. It makes a lot of sense, because what I wrote down there, Avril, was starting where the client is at, right?
Mm-hmm.
With their level of awareness. So if a client doesn't have a high level of awareness,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to unravel those layers that they have on top,
Mm-hmm.
because you need to almost take them on the journey.
Mm-hmm.
But with Sophia, as you mentioned, she has a very high level of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So she was already, and you could tell that
Mm-hmm.
by the way she was talking about her problem,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That, she was talking about it very analytically,
Mm-hmm.
right? As if she kind of understood,
Mm-hmm.
Already perhaps what the deep problem was.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of went there earlier on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that was very, very, very useful. And I think as well as like, it's a blessing and a curse, the fact that we know each other pretty well now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we know that Sophia is big into self-development and improvement, and always doing and becoming better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like I kind of knew that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was interested in. Okay, where is this going to go? Because I know where Sophia wants it to go, and where she's kind of at maybe.
Mm-hmm.
because it resonates with myself as well, definitely.
Yeah.
But I love that, like, just some points, I think, again, and it's interesting to see really the difference between, you know, Sophia's style and your side, Avril. Avril, you're much more, you know, focused on things like reflecting back.
Mm.
You do an artful job of
Yeah.
clarifying, summing up, kind of, and bottom lining.
Mm.
I think that's the main thing we call bottom lining.
Mhm.
Again, just that clarification, so that, you know, when perhaps, again, when a client, and you could see Sophia was very in the scenario and situation, because this is her life,
Yeah.
right? You were able to, within a sentence, just sum up, okay, so what you're saying is,
Mm.
this is what's happening and this is how you're feeling about it. And then Sophia's like, yeah, like totally. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you can see, like, that, again, that resonance builds chemistry, and it builds connection with the client, just that ability to be able to again, just, you know, that active listening, and you being able to summarize it. You asked,
And
obviously,
Eric,
a number of, yeah, sorry, go on.
I don't want to cut you, but just that I don't
No,
forget one of
please.
the things that I think it's important to mention. If our listeners may understand what I just explained to Avril, I could talk about this with a friend, but it's not the same. I knew that talking this way with Avril specifically, or either of you, would bring me to a place different than a friend would bring me. Even if I have this reflection, even if I thought of everything, even if I'm in the place, as Avril just said, you're already very self-aware what happened and what did it mean to you. But bringing this to a coach, it's going to reflect to you, even if you're very self-aware and even if you have already done a lot of good job in self-development, bringing your situations to a coach will make you see the things that you're not seeing for yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that point.
Okay, can I just jump in quickly,
I love
Eric,
that
before
point.
you
Yeah,
end?
please.
Just to add on to what Sophia said about difference in taking this to a friend, is that even for me, one thing that I was cautious not to do, like, coaches, we're not here to advise or to give our opinions and our views, right? And you came in at some point asking, like, okay, so when I said, what is it you want to get out of this? You know, you ended up putting it back as a question, like, how do I maintain, right? At
Yeah.
that point, as a spiritual holistic coach, there's a wealth of knowledge and wisdom I have around that. But my
Yeah.
challenge here was not to answer your question from what I know. You know, the thing is, as much as I know what I know, I'm not you and you're not me. So we got to get you to get to your own answers of how to handle the situation you're in.
Yeah,
so my challenge is always like, oh, careful, Avril, because I know Sophia, I can easily talk to her like my friend, right? But I was like, okay, so staying in coach mode, I'm not there to answer that question. I'm here to help you discover how to answer that question for yourself. And that's something that coaches will do that a friend may not do. Because as a friend, I can easily give you my opinion, my thoughts, and feel like that's the only way forward, or that's the way forward. But that may not totally be the way you're wired and what works for you. Yeah.
Definitely.
Sorry, back to you, Eric.
Absolutely.
I know you want there's one more, some other
No,
things to say.
No, absolutely. I think that's a really important point, again, that Sophia said. And yeah, just to kind of reiterate what Avril's saying, that, like, Sophia saying there that she knew, maybe she didn't know before, but she knew that she was being coached, and she is a coach. But she knew that she could just be herself and, like, kind of let go and just not overthink things, because there's an experience of being coached where you know that, especially if it's a capable coach, as Avril is, that they're going to take you somewhere into some kind of new, you know, understanding, new level of understanding, that she was very kind of open to that, right? So it's that kind of level of vulnerability to be able to allow the coach to kind of take you, you know what I mean, through questioning and through active listening. But again, just the fact that, you know, active listening, you were clearly, like, obviously really, you know, there was a point why, you know, where Sophia asked herself, like, why am I rushing into things? And you were like, yeah, like, Sophia, wait, stop. Like, don't just, you know, like, scoot over that question. Why are you rushing into things? That is you know what I mean? And that's almost like just the fact that, you know, it's almost like, again, it's just a reflecting back, but it's shown Sophia, look, Sophia, you have the right questions here.
Mhm.
Now take a second to answer this, and just giving them the space to be able to answer. I think, you asked some great questions just with regards to, Sophia was saying, like, how do I keep this feeling and maintaining a present life while still staying positive? And, I think you kind of did it, obviously different to how Sophia did it. Almost halfway through the session, you almost started and you went straight in, and then you went back to, okay, so what do you want to achieve from this session, kind of thing. And I felt that was a really powerful way of doing it, because you had almost, got her into, the thinking and feeling of the issue.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
when she was already embedded, then she was in a really interesting place to be like, oh, you know what? This is what it is. Because we always think that we know we have the right question. I wrote something down, as you were saying, is like, a wise man poses, a wise man doesn't give the right answers. They pose the right questions. So it's like, as the client, we think that we know what the problem is, and this is the question. Oh, I want this question. But now, after talking about the issue, I think we're in a better place to ask the right question. So just in general, unbelievable.
Great.
Really,
great
really
catch.
deep and powerful.
Great catch.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
No, that was great,
definitely,
guys.
Eric.
Fantastic.
It's very good.
Right.
Thank you so much, Avril.
No, you're most welcome. We have come to the end of our podcast for today. So I just want to say thank you all for those who are watching and listening. And we know you definitely got something out of today's podcast. I know I did. Any final words, guys, before we log out?
Sophia?
Enjoy the present. Just enjoy the now.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what? Now, I don't know if it's going to be in the podcast, but because of the universe, because of everything, I had a t-shirt. I wear a t-shirt. I was wearing a t-shirt during the moment of the accident that said, enjoy the now.
Oh.
Wow.
Not Avril.
Wow.
It's like, come on, slap in the face.
That's wow.
I'm like,
I
That
was
is
really.
wow.
Oh, man,
Wow.
you caught that, and the universe has always got
Oh,
you, man. It's got you.
Even when what I was wearing was telling me, just come on, girl.
Enjoy the night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say for me, my even listening to what you're saying, what you shared and what Jean shared earlier on, I remember this quote by McNapo, which I feel like that's also my takeaway. Just remember that what opens you is not as important as what it opens, And I think that you did a great job of that, Sophia, because you got yourself reflecting on why this is happening. It's like you came in from a question of asking, what does the universe want to show me in this? Or what is the universe saying to me in this? It's another way of doing that, of just not focusing on the incident, but focusing on what the incident is bringing up. All right, then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You, Eric.
Wicked does. Yeah, I mean, I think I've summarized plenty.
Yeah.
But just, like, jump into a session, find a coach and jump into a session if you haven't already, because I think hopefully this intrigues you enough to take that step.
All right. So once again, thank you
Bye,
for
guys.
joining us.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Life's a Coach, where our conversations aim to empower and support your personal growth. Until next time, remember that personal development is ongoing, so keep exploring, keep learning, and keep living a life that aligns with your true purpose. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode of Life's a Coach.